Welcome to Bewley Unleashed, and don't be afraid to like, share, subscribe, comment. What are teams doing? That's an interesting topic. What do teams look like? What happened during, week one? And where do we go from here? That's probably what the Lions are asking themselves right now, is because they were pretty embarrassed by Green Bay in their defense. So, what should the Lions work on? Well, maybe they need to work on getting the ball out quicker out of Jared Goff's hand. Maybe perhaps the offensive line can improve. What did I see that was good from the Lions? Their defense. I saw that their defense was really, really good. And just a quick look at my notes, what a catch by Tulsa. Towards the end of the game, he made a Odell Beckham-esque catch, and so there's going to be a debate on whether his catch was better or Odell Beckham's was better. I mean, at some point, the Odell Beckham catch is going to be overthrown at some point. But the one thing that I'm wondering is, does Tessa have a does he have a Tesla? Anyways, I'll cut that. The Steelers versus the Jets. That game was, a really back and forth game, and at the end it came down to the Steelers, and Aaron Rodgers, he did extremely well, and so just looking forward to, seeing Aaron Rodgers and how, it's going to play out for the Steelers. Right now it's looking good, and we got a good sneak peek in what what Aaron Rodgers is capable of, are still capable of. And then Justin Fields, he surprised me a bit. Me being a Bears fan, not really liking Justin Fields too much, and Justin Fields surprised me. But can he continue to surprise me? And that's the thing that I'll be looking out for. The Giants in Washington. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, Russell Wilson is still not Russell. Look, who wants to be surrounded by a swarm of bees? I mean, and that's literally every single snap. About a half a second to a second after the snap, he was swarmed by the Washington defense. The Giants, they've never really been a team to address the offensive line. Their offensive line has always been mediocre to, worse than that. And that's kind of disappointing because now you have a really good quarterback. And again, I know that there's going to be talk that is Russell Wilson back. Look, relax. It's week 1. He brought the Steelers to the playoffs, which I'm still a little sore that the Steelers got rid of him. But, I mean, I can't really complain too much because they picked up Aaron Rodgers. But it's that thought. And what if they didn't pick up Aaron Rodgers? You know what I mean? And so it's like, well, anyways. What can the Giants do to get better? Beef up the O-line. Beef up the O-line and help Russell Wilson out. And then the Giants, I think, would do good. Green Bay's defense, stellar. I have a segment that I'm going to do soon, and it's to do with the top teams, or the top 15. I didn't rank all 32 teams, but I made a top 15 list, and that's coming soon. And I will have that, in later episodes, I'll have that like on the screen, like the top 15 on the screen. But for now, I'm just going to read the list off to you. But the Packers defense, they were stellar. And that tells me, yeah, they're a top 5 team for sure. A top 5 team for sure. And I don't really think that the Packers have much that they need to improve on right now. So let's get started on the top 15 teams. At number 1, I have the Ravens. Even though they lost last night, I am keeping the Ravens at number 1. I just, it's actually I was disappointed that the Ravens, they get the ball. This is like a little over a minute left, and they get the ball back, and it's almost like they kind of pumped the brakes a little bit and said, oh, we can relax. It was almost like they were getting ready to go into winning formation, like, and hats off to Derrick Henry. He ran extremely well. But it was like, I don't know, I can't describe the plays, towards the end was, for the Ravens. They should have had they shouldn't have taken their foot off the gas pedal. And that's what they did at the end. That caused them the loss against the Bills. Other than that, I think the Ravens are better than the Bills right now. I really do. I really do believe that the Bills, again, if the Ravens, didn't take the foot off the gas pedal. But then second, I do have the Bills. And then third, remember I talked about the Packers. Yes, I said it the Packers, I have them at 3 because of their defense. 4, Chargers. I know there's a possibility that they could have been a few spots below number 4, but they beat the Chiefs. So I, felt like, they have a good squad. They beat the Chiefs. So I just thought, well, 4 seems pretty fair. And then the Philadelphia Eagles. You might, what? Philly at 5 after they won the... Look, Thursday night football, they won against Dallas, but they only won by 4 points, and their defense didn't really look... It wasn't bad, but it didn't look the same as the Super Bowl. Now, obviously, they lost a lot of players on defense, and, well, you lose players on defense, and then your defense doesn't, play as good. Yeah, guess what? That's the reason why they're at 5. But number 6, 49ers. Number 7, Cowboys. 8, Lions, even though they lost pretty bad to the Packers. I still have them at 8. 9, Bengals. 10, Vikings. 11, Steelers, because Aaron Rodgers is back. Then 12, Broncos, and 13, Chiefs. What? Did I hear that correctly? Yeah, come in closer. Yeah, Chiefs below the Broncos, okay, at 13. Get over it. They're not the same Chiefs. I mean, I saw that in the Super Bowl, and I immediately saw that in the Super Bowl, that the Chiefs just weren't the same. And then them losing to the Chargers is almost like confirmation. They're just not the same Chiefs. And then 14, Rams, and 15, Washington. And that takes care of this segment. I'm coming on Hinge, going to make analysts cringe. Time for you to get hinged. Find forgiveness if you're mad so we can make amends. Alright, my favorite segment, and just like the small little rap, if you will, said at the end, remember that this is a segment, so if there's something that I say that upsets you, you're just going to have to realize that, yes, okay, a lot of what is being said is coming from the heart, is coming from within. It needs to come out and be said. It really is how I feel about things. But even so, remember that it's a segment. So even though there might be a little shouting, there might be a little fist, going down on that table, remember, it's a segment. Here we go. Bewley Unleashed. This is where I get, angry, mad, and just boom. So, and the truth comes out on how I truly feel. How much do the NFL players need? And you can say, how much do the sports players need? How much do they need? Well, because you can argue, yes, you can argue that, well, they need to make a living. They need to provide for family, yada, yada, yada. Has anybody seen Lamar Jackson's teeth? I mean, he has grills. Have you seen the vehicles that they drive, the houses that they live in? Yeah, I think they're doing all right, making, even if they made 100,000 a year, they would be able to provide for their family. They're going to be all right. Did you know that you are actually paying for it through cable? Yes. That's the reason why cable goes up, is because the more the sport like basketball, football, baseball, the more they pay the players, the cable goes up, because they get paid through those networks like ESPN, Fox, and all the sport network programs and things like that, and that's all paid for by television and those streaming devices like Hulu and Prime Video, whatever, streaming device nowadays. Yeah, you're paying for it, I'm paying for it, and that's ridiculous. We're not money bags. I mean, the everyday fan is not made out of money bags like these players. And how much do they need? How much do they really need? I got an idea. How about they get paid by the hour like everybody else? And I'm not, saying a small amount. I'm not saying $20, $30 an hour. No, I'm saying more like 40, 50, 60, 70, all the way up to 100, but cut it off at 100. You can still have free agency, you can still have signings and all of that, but, have them get paid by the hour. Have them, just pay them by the hour. I mean, it's that simple. And yes, it might make some players unhappy, but you know what? I don't care. I really don't care. At the end of the day, more money in my pocket, right, that I get to keep. I work hard for my money. I don't want to see it going to, cable when I could be saving it, okay? And here's the thing. I think $100,000 a year is gonna, get these, players enough money, enough income to support families. And guess what another thing is? You say, well, what about the off season? Well, it would help them, right now, during the off season, they go home, they kick it back, and they go and they gain a few pounds. Well, if they got paid by the hour, they would have to go into the facility, like during the off season, they would be able to open up the facility up for the players to use during the off season. They could work out, they could watch film, they could practice, they can do drills, running drills, like all throughout the off season, and especially in baseball, they can still do, drills and practices there too, during the off season, and therefore you can still pay them by the hour. There's still enough for them to do in the off season, and so that would work out better, because they would be healthier, and by the time the season came around, they would be ready. How ignorant is the NFL? The NFL is so ignorant. They see these commercials with these beautiful women dancing and they think, oh, let me retaliate. Let me, they act like babies. They cry, wham, wham, wham. Cry me a river, would you? I mean, seriously, that's what the left does whenever they, don't get something that they want, right? Or, and retaliation to make America great again, make America hot again, right? They hear those things and they retaliate because they know who the founder of those things are, right? We all know his name. It starts with a T and ends with a umph. Yes, he does triumph, and that's what you're mad at. So get over it. And so what the NFL did is they took men and they placed them as cheerleaders that dance. But wait, did I say men? Did I say men? No. I made a mistake. They are not men. They are not men. A real man knows how to lift a woman up. Knows how to lift a woman up as a queen. Knows how to treat a woman as a queen. That's a real man. A real man lifts a woman up. These are not men. And again, they're just ignorant, right? I believe the NFL is it's a win the crowd and win your freedom. Likewise, it's become win the crowd and you get to start no matter how bad you stink. Right? That's what the NFL has become these days. It's all about winning the crowd. It's all about that entertainment, and there's more on that later, but, it really is just becoming more and more of entertainment and less a sport, and less and less of a chess game and more of a checker game. More on that. But Aaron Rodgers, he's saying, baby, I'm back. That's what he's saying. He's saying, you counted me out. You thought that I was done. You thought that I should retire. Baby, I'm back. And I'm hoping that there would be one more quarterback that by the end of the season, he would be able to rise that chest up, hold his head up high and say, baby, I'm back. You counted me out. The Steelers didn't want me. They thought that I wasn't, good enough. And hopefully he will be able to say, baby, I'm back as well. Again, circling back around to the NFL, just kind of like it's an entertainment and less of an actual sport, and that's kind of what it feels like. And so these teams, they go out and get these great players, and they are great players. There's no hate there, but it's just, what team wants to play chess? It's almost like they don't want to play chess anymore. They want to play checkers. Are you kidding me? They want it to be so easy that they don't have to coach anymore. Why don't they just put AI on the sidelines and get rid of the coaches if that's the case? Let's just get rid of all the coaches, put AI out there. Because they don't want to coach anymore. They don't want to be the grind hard, find ways to win. No, they just want to win by having the best offense, by putting on the best show. Let's put on the best performance. That's how we're going to win. Not let's get ourselves in the playbook, think about how we can beat the Ravens. No, it's let's just get a power team like the Ravens so we don't have to coach anymore. I highly doubt that Andy Reid, that the coach for the Ravens, the coach for the Bills, I highly doubt that if they went to Chicago, if they went to New York Giants or the New York Jets, if they went to the Carolina Panthers or the Saints, I doubt that they would do that good of a job. I seriously, because those teams, those coaches have to coach more than Jim Harbaugh does. They have to coach harder, plan harder than the Chiefs coach Andy Reid. But see, that is slowly starting to die because every team is doing it. Every team is like, at first it was the Chiefs. We got to be as good as the Chiefs. We're falling behind. Find ways to win, you see these hairs? I'm losing them. I'm losing them over. It's just so embarrassing for the NFL right now to just be like, I guess there's only one way to win. Stack our team. Well, no, if you think about it, what are coaches paid to do? Coaches are paid to coach. Coaches are paid to find other ways to win. And so it just, I don't know. It's almost like a slap in the face to a true fan. Joe Burrow. Last year, he got robbed from the MVP. Hate me. Go ahead. Hate me for making that statement that he got robbed. He wasn't even in the conversation, but yet he outthrew Lamar Jackson. He outthrew Josh Allen. He had more passing yards than the both of them. He had more passing yards. He had more touchdowns. And he had less interceptions. But you know why he wasn't considered? Because it's all about winning the crowd. Lamar Jackson won the crowd. And Josh Allen won the crowd. And their teams were in the playoffs. And they, the Bengals, they started off slow. But wait a minute. Something doesn't add up here. See, the Bengals were one game away from making the playoffs. Who do you think lifted them on their shoulders to get them just one game away from making the playoffs? It would have been Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, not only did he beat Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson in passing yards and in touchdowns, and he threw for less interceptions, but he did that while carrying his team to one game away from the playoffs. Oh, and he's not considered for MVP. I mean, seriously, it kind of sounds like the only reason is because he did not win the crowd. Oh, he wasn't entertaining enough for the MVP. To get MVP, you have to win the crowd. You have to be entertaining. People have to be amazed at what you can do. And apparently, Joe Burrow did not do that very good. But the last time I checked, MVP is best player. It sounded like Joe Burrow was the best player. Well, anyways, that season is over, and I would hope that Joe Burrow is saying I have some unfinished business, because I believe he does. The NFL has a problem, and their problem is that they are hypocrites. I'll try to make this short. They have a good settlement. They say no racism, stop hate. You know, it takes all of us. And they have good commercials. You know, like, but wait a minute. Wait just a minute. Why are they, why when a commercial of a white hot girl comes out, they're like, oh, let's retaliate. So that's one thing. And then what about on the field? Teams hating teams, players hating players, and, players spitting on another player, or, what about the fans? I don't even know what fans are worse, Philadelphia or the Bills. The Ravens, there were fans hitting the Ravens as they were circling back around, going back to their bench, to their sideline. And there were fans that were, hitting the Ravens. The NFL needs to talk to the fans and say, hey, we're not going to allow that. If you do that, you're getting kicked out. You're not going to, they need to tell the fans that. But then they need to tell the players to, hey, and yes, they, to an extent, they do discipline the players, but maybe it's time that the players need to be disciplined more and say, hey, we're not allowing that. We're not going to talk about stopping hate. We're actually going to do it. I mean, why waste your breath talking about stopping hate and all of that if you're not going to do it? That's the definition of what a hypocrite is. It's time for Sunday, Monday, and Thursday night football. Let's get to it. All right, let's start with Monday night football. Ravens, Bills. That was a explosive game by both teams. Came down to the wire, and came down to the obviously the Bills, winning. It looked like the entire game the Ravens were in control, and then it almost looked like the last possession of the Ravens, it's almost like Jim Harbaugh took the foot off the gas pedal a little bit, and that's probably what caused them to lose. So, in other words, towards the end, the Ravens just beat themselves. Derrick Henry was amazing. He's pretty much unstoppable all night. Well, obviously until the end. But other than that, he was pretty much unstoppable all night. Just really, really good football. High scoring game. I like those, but they're not really my favorite, because I like the let's grind it out, let's play a game of chess, right? I'm that, let's play chess versus, like, that game was more, they weren't really playing chess, they were playing checkers. Both teams in that game were mostly just playing checkers. It was mainly a checker game, and just very but Sunday night, or no, Monday night, football, Bears and Vikings. The Bears looked really good in the first half, and then the second half they kind of slid back, but then later, late in the game, they kind of got themselves together, but they still lost. They still lost to the Vikings. The Vikings quarterback, the entire game, basically for the entire first half and almost the whole second half, was not having a good game at all. And then he ended up pulling together, and just towards the end, or towards when it got closer to like the fourth quarter, like somewhere in the middle of the third, that's where the Vikings, they really started turning up the heat and making the Bears look like the Bears. But other than that, though, the Bears defense really played pretty well throughout the entire game. So we'll see what, from here on out, like if, the Bears defense really is that good, or if they're going to falter. Because what if the Vikings quarterback played that good throughout the entire game? I think the Bears defense would have been in trouble if that were to happen. So we'll see as the season goes on. The Thursday night, the Eagles versus Cowboys, that game was good. There was a delay, and the Cowboys ended up losing by 4 points. Dak Prescott looked like a different Dak Prescott. Like, there was times when he looked like he was going to get sacked, and He was able to escape, and the old Dak, the one that wasn't as, fit with a whole lot of muscle, probably would have gotten sacked. And we saw a different Dak Prescott. Whenever he was, again, before, it was like he was about to get sacked, he would get sacked, and now he, is about to get sacked, and nope, he's still going. He's still, extending plays, where before it's like not, you didn't really see much of that. So there was a lot of improvement by Dak Prescott as a quarterback. Even though the Eagles or the Cowboys lost to the Eagles, I still see the Cowboys as, being a very good competitor. What I saw from the Eagles defense is they played, pretty good, but not as good as, last season. Obviously, they lost quite a bit, 10 guys from their defense, but they did obviously pick some guys up. But it's only week 1, and we'll, see if the Eagles, defense progresses. But yeah, that's something that I definitely saw is their defense not quite as good as they were in the Super Bowl. Do I agree or disagree? I don't know. We'll see. Do I agree or do I disagree? What I did not agree with, and so on Thursday night football, before the game, there were analysts talking, and they were talking about the Chiefs, and they said that they all felt like the Chiefs got better. Interesting. I will go back to what I said at the beginning of this podcast is, during the Super Bowl, I felt like the Chiefs, they got manhandled. They really did. And I said to myself, the Chiefs are done. I mean, yeah, they might make the playoffs, and maybe make a Super Bowl appearance, maybe. But their dynasty is done. Their dynasty is over. They won 4. I can tell you, they might be asking for more, but they ain't getting more. And so, I've gotten confirmation, I believe that there's confirmation, from them losing against the Chargers. Hate me for saying that if you must, but that's honestly how I don't really agree with what the analysts have said. And yeah, they might still go to the playoffs. There's no doubt in my mind that they're probably always still gonna always be in the playoffs. It's just I don't see where they're the same Chiefs as the Chiefs that were so dominant in Patrick Mahomes early, like in his first 5 to 6 seasons, maybe even 7 seasons. The past 3 to 4 seasons for Patrick, and especially the last 2 seasons, and more so last season. Yeah, they made the Super Bowl, but other than that, I go, man, with any team that has a defense like the Philadelphia Eagles, I go, or like what the Philadelphia Eagles had when they faced the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and they're able to swarm Patrick Mahomes and make him feel uncomfortable. Like, really, and I just don't see it. I'm telling you the truth. I don't see where they got better. If they gotten better, that means, well, that means you win week 1, and, they didn't win week 1. They didn't win against the Chargers. They normally beat the Chargers. And so did the Chiefs did they get better? I can't really agree with that. I disagree with that. Now that they lost against the Chargers, week 1, I think we've seen what their season is going to look like. They're going to struggle with these, tougher teams, and they might make the playoffs, but maybe only first round. One of the announcers said that Jared Goff was feeling the pressure from Green Bay, and I agree with that. I mean, you can definitely see Parkins was making an impact. He was, the Green Bay's defense, they just played better with Parkins on that team. He's just a guy that when other players get around him, they play better. And so he is somebody that is an impact player. He impacts the people around him. And that's what happened. Not that the Green Bay Packers, not that their defense has been, bad in the past years, but it kind of almost reminds me of like a Seattle Seahawks defense when they faced Denver in the Super Bowl, or even the Bears defense 2018, just they got that good of a defense. That now that Parsons is there, and here's the thing, I kept asking myself, are they overhyping Parkinson's being at Green Bay? And I kept on answering that question with no. Nobody's overhyping it. It really is that good. He really is, plays that much of an impact for Green Bay and the people around him. And Jared Goff really was pressured, and I agree with that.